Broadcasting live from Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Learning Insight, featuring learning professionals improving performance to drive business results.
Welcome to another exciting and informative edition of Learning Insight. Stone Payton Lee Cantor here with you this afternoon. Lee, this is going to be a fantastic segment. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast Chief Learning Officer and co-founder with NuPaths, Mr. Andy Petroski. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Well, Andy, before we get too far into things, tell us about NuPaths. How are you serving folks?
So NuPaths is a company that was co-founded by Harrisburg University as a college alternative for providing people with short-term training for entry into the IT field as part of addressing the IT skills gap. So we provide very specific training based around IT certifications and developing IT skills in a hands-on, immersive learning environment that gets folks into the IT field without a college degree.
How did that partnership evolve? Like, who came first? Did they come to you with this challenge, or you came to them with a solution?
Well, the university of which I've been affiliated for about 10 years now and also still play a role in was looking at the landscape and looking at a need for this beyond the graduates that they graduate in 4-year degrees and other colleges graduate in 2-year and 4-year degrees. There's still a huge number of IT jobs that go unfilled and a huge IT skills gap. So they really were looking at this as a way to, build something that was different and unique as part of filling that need and part of being a supporter and really a solution provider for workforce development in the Harrisburg and Central PA area, as well as throughout the nation. So together we worked on building out our framework and curriculum, which also includes credits from the university. So even though NuPaths is a college alternative, students still do earn college credits as part of participating in the program, and they can transfer those credits into Harrisburg University or any other college that will accept those credits as transfer credits. So we still recognize the need for college degrees, and certainly on a career path and career trajectory, that college degree is important, but it's not critical and it's not needed anymore to get into an entry-level IT job.
And the way that your service works, it's all virtual and online?
No, actually we have programs on site in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we do have a program in a distance learning format. We also, our technical support specialist program is in a distance learning format, which is a flex model blended format where students have the option to come into the classroom. And then we also just received a grant to build out 2 additional programs in that format, our Security Operations Center Analyst program and our Network Technician program. In the midst of the current pandemic, we have transitioned all of our classroom sessions into virtual classroom sessions. And then our flex model for the distance learning program has also, all of the sessions are online and virtual classroom sessions.
Now, when you're onboarding a new instructor, are these people that you train like from scratch who are used to doing face-to-face instructing to the using and leveraging the virtual?
It's a mixture of both, and in any case, it's always good to have a refresher and have some base guidelines to work from. So yeah, we are familiar with and do work with instructors who have never taught in that environment before.
Now, what are some of for people who are doing this for the first time, is there any kind of tips or tactics that you recommend in order to be effective virtually as opposed to, some things you can get away with in person that you can't get away with virtually?
Yeah, I mean, it is about the technology in a virtual classroom platform as the foundation of it. So it's definitely about planning time for technology orientation or technology testing and learner orientation. So, if this is something new that learners have not participated in before or instructors haven't participated in before, doing an online orientation before any of the training begins is something that can be very helpful. It allows everyone to kind of test out the technology, test out the environment, get familiar with it, maybe do a small exercise and take the time to do that versus trying to jam that into the very beginning of a live training session that has certain specific objectives and a certain timeline associated with it. because the technology can be something that is different for folks and can take a little time to set up. It's not difficult by any means, but that's certainly a component of it. The technology has to work first before you can move into a good design. Around organizing the event, it's always good to have a producer for the event, especially if you have a new group of learners and it's a larger group, over 10 people. I would say have someone who serves as a producer for the event, someone who can help manage the technical issues for the participants, also help manage the chat. It's also good to have audio muting as a default for users in most cases, especially, again, large groups, so that background noises and feedback and all of that doesn't become an issue. In most platforms, attendees can test their audio prior to entering the session, so they should be able to test whether they can hear through their mic and speak through their microphone before they enter the session. So doing a test in the session is not necessarily in most cases. And again, that could be something that could be done in an orientation session. And then it's always good to coach presenters and participants around how to manage their video if video is going to be used. And it does create a certain sense of connection between all the participants versus staring at your computer screen and just, staring at a picture or an icon and hearing someone talk. But there's background elements to video. It is live, it's real. So you want to make sure you're in a space that works well for video, especially your background. And it's a space where there's not a lot of background activity or things that are going to distract people. And as well, video eats up a lot of bandwidth. So, if there are issues with the audio quality, even if you're using video to kind of create that connection and make that introduction, you can always have people stop using the video at a certain point to free up that bandwidth and allow for better audio quality. So those are some things around kind of setup and technology and planning. When you think about the design of a program, it's very important to think about doing the same things that you might do in a classroom to keep people engaged from the standpoint of your voice, your inflection, even your hand gestures will come across in your voice in the virtual classroom format and environment. So, potentially standing and kind of mimicking being in front of a class and using your hand gestures and using your, dynamic presentation as a great classroom trainer, you should try to transfer that into the virtual classroom as much as you can. It's also important, ultimately, it's a visual medium because people are staring at their screen as part of the, being a part of this session. And so it's important to change visuals often. So if you have something that you might do on one slide or two slides in a classroom session, you might want to build that visual over 4 or 5 slides and have the slide change and the visual change a little bit. I would recommend not using bullets at all in a virtual classroom unless it's to really summarize or intro something and make very specific points. I would use very short bullet points, again, just to keep people's interest. A lot of the same things that you might do in a classroom setting as well. And part of that, all of that just goes into practicing the presentation ahead of time as well, and making sure that you're on point and on time and succinct and really have a well planned out way that you're going to manage the session from the presentation standpoint. And interaction is key.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Is it possible to kind of break the group into mini groups and have them work on something and then kind of regather and maybe split them up again, and so that way they kind of mix and match and create engagement amongst their other learners?
Absolutely, yeah. So, all of the things I've mentioned previously kind of set the foundation for really what is, the true engagement that can happen in a virtual classroom. So most platforms have a breakout room, like you've described. So the collaboration between learners and attendees does not need to be lost in a virtual classroom session. And, there are things they can do on whiteboards and in the chat and even in shared documents in Google Docs or something like that, or SharePoint, where they can, collaborate on a document together as part of that breakout. And that would be one of the techniques that I think is not as apparent in the virtual classrooms, is thinking about using activities outside the virtual classroom to enhance the interaction. So there's nothing that says your entire virtual classroom training session has to be everyone staring at their screen. You can create an activity where they may go off and, work on their own for 15, 20 minutes on creating a summary, creating a plan, creating a diagram that's based around some of the concepts and objectives of the session, or they may work in those breakout rooms in groups and then come back into the session. The important thing there is to make sure people are aware of timing and to set very specific guidelines on when they're supposed to return to the session. And then you can do debrief. So you could have people email you what they've done. You can have them post what they've done. You can have them share their screen and show other people what they've done. And then you can talk about the pros and give positive and constructive feedback on those elements of what they've created. And everyone's kind of learning from each other in that type of environment. And it's very engaging versus just watching a lot of screens change or listening to someone speak the entire time.
Sounds like that we're kind of on the upward trajectory in terms of leveraging the technology, that maybe when this started, the virtual learning, it was somebody just, one-to-many type of a monologue of the instructor to the learners. But now with the advent of more and more robust technology and more bandwidth, we're able to really leverage the technology to, in some cases, you're getting a better experience virtually than you would in person. Do you think that's so?
Well, that's a generalization, certainly that could apply, certainly not across the board, from a learner's perspective, and it really does take planning and design, but you do versus a classroom where you as a learner are part of a group that's in front of the instructor, and yeah, you can raise your hand or you can, comment out loud. There are many people who don't feel comfortable doing that in a classroom, or maybe need a little bit more time to think about something before responding, and the virtual classroom can allow everyone to participate. So, through polls, there's a lot of things built into the platforms, from polling, attendee indicators like raise hand, check marks, yes, no signals. Certainly the chat is another way people can participate. So it allows really a larger number of people to participate in ways they may not be comfortable doing in the virtual classroom. And if it's designed in well, those ways of participating are additional to often what's in the virtual classroom, where that participation sometimes is just the Q&A and the person who feels comfortable answering the questions, or the one who doesn't mind participating out loud in the classroom session with other people around them, and just being worried about how they're being perceived. The virtual classroom eliminates a lot of those kind of personal interaction barriers from the standpoint of it limiting the way people interact and respond.
What challenges do you have on helping the instructor get the most out of the technology and getting the most out of the platform when they transition from in-person training to this kind of virtual?
Well, it's different for each person. Some people will transition much better than others, depending on how they're doing their classroom session. So, there's a saying or an adage in training and education that's focused on students becoming more active in the learning and more a part of the learning environment. And that adage is moving from being a sage on the stage to a guide on the side. So the virtual classroom environment definitely is much more robust for the learners if the instructor is a guide on the side and is really the person who is, again, setting the foundation, setting the context, but engaging the learners in activities and planning and collaboration and thinking about, how they're going to use these concepts in their work, in their daily life, whatever the case may be. So if it's an instructor, who is used to getting up and, doing 15 minutes of lecture or 20 minutes of lecture and then a 5-minute activity and, then back to lecture, it's a lot more challenging than for someone who really is already putting a lot of the activity and a lot of the, focus of the training in the learner's hands. It's really about the technology too. So, there's people that transition better to the technology than others, but the platforms, again, are fairly easy to use, or they often provide a lot of support materials and training materials. So that's probably the easier part of getting people up to speed. even if they're not familiar with the technology, then the change in their training design and delivery.
What about from the learner standpoint, the different generations that are kind of being trained nowadays? The digital natives, I would think, kind of would embrace this a lot quicker and faster and easier maybe than somebody who isn't a digital native. Is there different kind of strategies when dealing with an older crowd?
I think that is more addressed during the orientation. I think the difference would be that the younger and again, those are generalizations that I try not to use, but certainly I've seen younger people who have a really difficult time transitioning into these types of environments, and then people who are more experienced who really adapt to it and end up loving it more than the face to face. So it really, I don't know that age has a huge impact, but certainly I think younger people are more used to using technology in every situation, and certainly more used to diving in and clicking around. And if they end up logging out accidentally or closing a window accidentally, they just log back in. Where, older and more experienced people tend to maybe not be as, just free form with their mouse clicks and exploring and experimenting. So I think that orientation piece and as much preparation for people up front is helpful for everyone, because as I've found, and as really everyone has found in most cases, just because younger people use technology all the time and use it a lot for communication, it doesn't mean they know how to use it for learning and for interacting collaboratively in a professional environment. So their potential to jump into the technology is greater, but to know how to use it correctly is not necessarily.
Now, let's talk for a bit about NuPaths. You're co-founded by Harrisburg University. Is that something that's exclusive to Harrisburg, or is this something you're trying to roll out into other places around the country?
Yeah, we're looking to roll this out throughout other places throughout the country. We have a variety of different partners that we've talked with. So we're a young company established in 2018, and always looking for new partnerships. The state of Pennsylvania and Harrisburg University have been great partners, but certainly we are looking at other options, including or other partners, including a apprenticeship partner company who is nationwide and an approved apprenticeship provider in a number of states who we're partnered with in Pennsylvania, and looking to move to other regions, as well as other employer and industry partners who we'd love to collaborate and connect with.
Now, what's the pain that those organizations are facing that NuPaths is the solution for?
Well, in a lot of cases, it's upskilling. Many of the companies today are dealing with older workers who maybe have been working in even still mainframe environments, or maybe working in an IT role that is becoming obsolete. And so taking, rather than those, having to lay those people off, or, train them into other areas where maybe there's not as great a job demand as there is in IT, and IT is so critical to daily operations. You can take that culture and company fit with that individual and upskill them into a more in-demand, more viable IT position. And that includes IT security, which is a huge area of need for a lot of companies. And really the foundation for IT security skills comes from the help desk and from, basic desktop support and those types of skills, and that type of technology, as well as network technician skills, network support skills, really can be upskilled with some IT security training into, really critical IT security job roles. And so those are some of the solutions that we can provide to companies who are looking to, upskill their employees. And certainly as well, the whole reason for establishing the business was to fill that IT skills gap. So we're always looking for employer partners who are looking for good IT talent, looking for entry-level technicians who can really meet a need and fill a very specific job role for their IT organization.
Now, are you working with like high school level, like maybe people who chose not to go to college, that they can get involved and take some of these classes as well?
Absolutely, yeah. That is our primary audience. We do require that students have a high school degree to enroll in the program. So right out of high school graduates, career changers, people who are career transitioning, whether that's underemployed or unemployed. So we have a variety of different types of people coming from different types of backgrounds. But certainly we have everyone from. We actually have a 17-year-old in one of our programs who, not necessarily to come into our program that he did this, but he dropped out of high school and got his GED and, was looking for what he could do next. He really didn't want to go to college. And so he actually has been a very high performer in our Security Operations Center Analyst program, including one of our students who just recently passed the CompTIA Security Plus exam, which is a highly coveted IT security exam, entry-level IT security exam. So every story from that to a 55-year-old who has been working in manual labor or manual trades and really is looking to transition into something that is less difficult on the body and certainly presents some more career opportunities. So it really runs the gamut. And we also do actually partner with high schools as well to bring our programs into the high school, and we offer those as part of the high school day. So for those programs, we're working with high school seniors. We run the same programs for the most part during the full high school year versus our 6-month programs for adult learners.
Now, so this solves the kind of both ends of the continuum, right? You're helping the companies upskill, but also give them availability to talent. And then you're helping the talent find jobs when they're done with this. Is that?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. We just had a great employer event for one of our cohorts in Harrisburg, where we had about 9 employers who came in, networked with the students, did an introduction to their company, and then did speed interviews. And, we were just reviewing some of the employer feedback, and to an employer, there's students up and down the feedback list who they're going to follow up with for additional interviews and for job opportunities, and really great feedback, from the employers about the students. And so that's just one component of what we do with the students for that career preparation. As we were planning and really developing these programs, the feedback from employers was that the technical skills are very important, obviously, but more importantly, and you hear this up and down the education spectrum of education opportunities from high school to college, and even in professional development, is that soft skills and business skills are just as important, and in some cases more important. So, communication, critical thinking, email etiquette, all of those things around communicating and working with others in a workplace are as important as the technical skills. So we've built in business skills training as well into the curriculum. So students do 18 hours, 6-hour workshops at a time in between a few of the classes. So we try to establish that as something that's an ongoing kind of lifelong learning concepts and goals for the students. So we actually integrate that business skills throughout the program at different stages to kind of set the stage as something that they're going to continue to do, after they leave the program, as well as preparing them for entry into that first job.
If you're just now joining us, you're listening to Learning Insights, brought to you by our friends at Training Pros. Today we're visiting with Chief Learning Officer and co-founder with NuPaths, Mr. Andy Petroski. Andy, Stone Payton here. I've been listening into the conversation, and I am fascinated with the mission and purpose of NuPaths, and it occurs to me that there really are so many viable career opportunities once a person has this foundation that they gain through NuPaths. I know we've had quite a few experts and lay people who are concerned about the topic of cybersecurity. I suspect that there are people coming through your institution who are well prepared for a career in cybersecurity and probably some other kind of tech support roles. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, yeah. One of our programs and one of our pathways is cybersecurity. One of our programs is the Security Operations Center Analyst program that prepares people to be an IT security technician as well. A lot of IT security happens at the network, and the network points along the network, and we have a network technician program. And as many IT security people know, a lot of the breaches are also based off of human error, clicking on phishing emails and giving your password away and all of that. And so we also have a technical support specialist program where people are providing that desktop level support to help people, with their IT security needs and IT security decisions at the individual user and desktop space. So any IT program has an element of security to it, an element of security fundamentals. But yes, we have that specific program, the IT security analyst, Security Operations Center analyst program that focuses specifically on that.
Now, are you finding a lot of the your clients and maybe people out there in general are less concerned in some of these specific fast-moving areas for a college degree in that specific learning, and then they just want someone who can get the job done? And a lot of times these focused certificates are good enough for a lot of employers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the climate that really set the stage for NuPaths being a solution for employers and for people who are looking to get into the IT field without a lot of prior experience. Certainly, there are a lot of great potential IT employees coming out of degree programs, but there's not enough. And those degree programs tend to be very broad focused. So it does set the stage for a career in IT, but not necessarily for you to perform a specific job in IT. And so, that's what we're focused on. So, yeah, employers are definitely changing the way they look at degrees as a requirement for a lot of the IT jobs, and especially the IT technician jobs. And the certifications have always been a component of the IT industry. So for IT, moving to certifications as more of a indicator of skill set, or at least at the same or similar level as a college degree, is not that large of a leap. Many people in IT management today kind of started in other careers and other directions and really got into IT, even though they have a bachelor's degree in something else or an advanced degree in something else. They got into IT by getting certifications and kind of learning on their own and learning with mentors. And we provide, that learning for people who don't learn on their own or don't know how to learn on their own for IT, or don't have mentors to, guide them through those certifications and building those entry-level skills.
Now, what would you say to that person that would like to make that change or maybe consider this, but they're afraid that they just aren't smart enough, or this is too difficult? How would you kind of coach them up to say, you know what, you could probably do this if you put your mind to it?
Well, I mean, that's, I would give them examples of students that have done that, exactly as you say. If you put your mind to it and you put the work in and you concentrate on this as something that you're going to dedicate yourself to for 6 months, you'll achieve your goals as a result of doing this work. And so that is a component of it. I mean, moving into an IT career without any prior IT experience in 6 months, it's an intense experience, and it does require students to, dedicate themselves to, putting the time inside and outside of class, doing the labs and the hands-on work in groups inside the class, as well as, doing extra things outside of class that will help them prepare. And we found the students that do that, no matter their background, are successful. Our courses are scheduled for our adult learners on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. Our distance learning program, those live sessions are on the same schedule, except for they're only an hour an evening on those evenings. A lot of the other work is done online, asynchronously. So, there's that schedule, which is intense over 6 months, but then also the work outside of class that is important. But we have found that students that do that are successful as a result.
And then they might be at their home doing the classes, but they're not alone, right? There's still ways to interact with their other students and with the instructors.
Yeah, absolutely. Through certainly the virtual classroom sessions, we also have a learning management system like many organizations and many colleges and universities where course materials are posted, and there's discussion boards and other ways of connecting with their fellow students and also the instructors. We also provide a lot of support materials for these students who don't have any prior IT experience. So every course includes an ebook with a lot of support materials around that ebook. We also provide practice exams for the certification exam prep. In many cases, there also is online learning, in some cases adaptive learning materials that the students can use to build their skill set, build their knowledge base, and also prepare for those certification exams. And we've also implemented, in some cases, tutoring sessions that are outside of the class sessions for students who want some additional guidance and support. So we're definitely very student-centric and student support focused in the NuPaths program.
Now, you mentioned it might be an intense 6 months, but this is something that can change the trajectory of your career.
Absolutely. I mean, it puts you on a whole new career path. It puts you on a whole new earnings path. I mean, another element of, kind of the foundation or the reason for this program is to provide, family-sustaining wages for people and opportunities to pursue family-sustaining wages for people. And so, there's great career opportunities and also, really great income opportunities for students coming out of a training program like this with the certification exams and the certifications.
Now, Andy, what do you need more of right now? Do you need more kind of partners? Do you need more students? Do you need more instructors? What do you need more of?
Yes. So we have witnessed and experienced tremendous growth. And like I said, we've had great partners in Harrisburg University, great partners in our partner school districts, and also, through grants through the state of Pennsylvania. I've been very fortunate in the growth that we found. We have other, business partnerships that are both regional and national that are underway, but really, continuing that momentum and continuing looking at ways that we can, meet that pipeline gap and meet all the goals that I've talked about, both for the individuals who are changing their career into IT, as well as for the organizations who need that talent. We're looking to connect with folks anywhere, from guest speakers through, job opportunities, teachers, internships, coming to hiring events, virtual or physical, and we also look for curriculum feedback and review from those employer partners. And then certainly, getting the word out that this is an opportunity for people who either don't want to or can't go to college, whether that's time or money, and then also for people who are looking to change a career and maybe either their career of choice wasn't quite what they thought it would be, or they've been in that career for a while and now are looking for something a little different.
So if somebody wanted to learn more and get a hold of you, is there a website?
There is. Everyone can visit www.nupaths.org, NUPATHS.org.
Good stuff. Well, Andy, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you.
All right, this is Lee Cantor for Stone Payton. We will see you all next time on Learning Insights.
Although we style,